So, Trafalgar Square, we helped out the doctor's office. There's probably a lot more people here to help out. Now it's time for us to become cooks.
Nah.
Police officers.
No.
Ninjas.
Maybe. What the hell? Exclamation points. Well, so in order to make a neon light, you need several things. You need a place to get neon from, because I'm pretty sure that most places aren't going to have just spare bottles of neon laying around.
Fair enough.
Then you need a glass blower to, one, make the glass, and two, make it into these shapes. And then three, you need a reliable source of electricity. And it kind of pisses me off that there's neon lights around, but people haven't figured out how to use a fucking broom. What is this place? Hi, Stanley?
Can't find it elsewhere. Try here.
Combat rifle, dude. Well, I want this.
Too bad it cost $3,000.
Lucky for him, I just found a bag of gold earlier.
Here, take these tweezers and the toy crow that we didn't actually need. Thought we would have to disassemble
Take
the
these
crow.
tweezers that are covered in blood. Oh, that's why she was limping, because I didn't actually give her the crutch. Whoops. Got a fragmentation grenade. Oh, that's interesting that the fragmentation grenade is actually based off of the, World War II British hand grenade.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Good. Lewis gun!
Looks like a drum magazine on top, like a Tommy gun.
No, Tommy gun has the drum magazine mounted perpendicular to the direction of the barrel.
Oh.
The Lewis gun has it mounted parallel. Well, if I can buy either one of these, I can talk about them. Stanley, I have returned with a gold bar.
Take a look.
I know how much you love gold bars, and I know, because, we've known each other for so long, Stanley. I know who you are. And Stanley looks at me, and he just taps his nose that turns into a shot glass, but then turns back into a person. It currently is configured like one of the blasters from Star Wars. So if you didn't know, basically most of the guns from Star Wars are just World War II firearms that they put a bunch of extra shit on them to make them look like science fiction guns. And the, heavy blaster that some of the stormtroopers use is an MG42 with no belt or belt box and a bunch of extra crap grafted onto it.
I see.
The standard stormtrooper blaster is a Sterling submachine gun with the stock folded and a bunch of extra stuff stuck onto it.
I had no idea.
Leia's pistol in A New Hope that she uses for 2 seconds is based off of an Olympic target shooting pistol.
Neat.
There's a couple times in Star Wars, if you watch the original ones, not the remastered, sometimes when the stormtroopers shoot or when people shoot, you can see shell casings come out of the gun.
Yeah,
because they were all just blank firing guns, because then it gave the special effects people a cue for when the laser would fire.
Okay.
They tried to edit out some of the shell casings by just blurring them out. But sometimes they don't do it, so you can actually see shell casings go pew pew out of the gun when it fires.
It's kind of crazy that they actually were firing blanks and not just going click, click, click.
Yeah.
And then we got the Lewis gun.
Yeah, which is also in a weird science fiction configuration. This looks like, I'm gonna be completely honest, this doesn't look like a Lewis gun. This looks like a G.I. Joe legally distinct Lewis gun. Weird. Alright, yeah, I need to go modify these. Oh yeah, I want to look at the frag grenade really quick. Oops. Why did I just drop it?
Hey, that looks important. You should.
Thanks,
It
Archie.
blows up. Whoops. See, I can't remember the name of this grenade, but this is the British standard issue grenade during World War II, basically.
Yeah. It doesn't look like the American M2 grenade.
So there's the Mark II grenade, which is the pineapple grenade. That was the World War II standard issue grenade.
Yeah. And it does look somewhat similar to that, but it has a different profile.
Yeah, so the British grenade is a lot chunkier. I think this grenade is called a Mills bomb, and I'm pretty sure that they used it in World War I and World War II. So on the US pineapple grenade, or on the more modern one, which is like the M67 fragmentation grenade, there was one that was in between that one that was it's the lemon grenade. I forget what the name of it is.
Okay. Yeah, you called it lemon grenade, so that's its name.
No, it has an actual name. M26. So there was the Mark II fragmentation grenade, which is the World War II one. Interestingly, they're called pineapple grenades because they kind of look like a pineapple.
Which makes sense.
But also they were yellow. They were actually painted yellow. And that was to indicate that they had like high explosives in them. And then they realized that, maybe painting this thing that people are carrying around in combat bright yellow isn't the best idea. So then they started painting them green and putting a yellow band on it.
Seems like maybe you'd want to not paint the grenades at all. Just leave it earthen colored so when you throw it at the enemy, they might not be able to find it and throw it back.
I mean, generally, a grenade doesn't really have long enough to be thrown back anyway. Usually, if a grenade lands next to you, you don't really have the time to be like, oh, that's not properly camouflaged. I should throw it back. So the way you paint ordnance, at least in the U.S. military, is colors mean specific things. So yellow means that it's generally a high explosive. Red usually means it's an incendiary of some type. Brown means it's a low explosive. Black is usually like an armor piercing. Anyway, the Mills bomb, which I'm pretty sure is what this is, has 2 plugs in it, which is kind of interesting because this plug here on the front with the little...
Looks like it could be opened with a screwdriver.
Yeah, that plug is to basically fill the grenade with explosives. This thing on the bottom is the entire fuse and igniter mechanism. And so you can just unscrew that. Now the grenade has been rendered completely inert. Even if it has explosives in it, the grenade can't do anything because you've just taken the fuse mechanism out.
The grenade has a safety.
Technically, like a couple different safeties. But the interesting thing is these would ship with the spoon, like the lever, and the pin in place, whereas pineapple grenades or the modern fragmentation grenades generally shipped with the fuse not screwed into the body of the grenade. So the way you render a US grenade that has not been armed inert is by unscrewing the body from the fuse.
Okay.
The way you render this one inert is by unscrewing the body from the fuse, but the safety lever and the safety pin stay with the grenade.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. Different ways of achieving the same result.
Yeah.
But the current British grenade is more baseball grenade shaped, so it looks like the M67 fragmentation grenade.
I wonder if that's just the superior design, or maybe they wanted conformity.
It's more of a superior design. The whole reason for these, like, striations, the whole reason for the grid pattern on the grenade, it was thought to add slightly weak spots to the body of the grenade to increase the shrapnel that it would create. Also, it added in, like, a grip.
Right,
It helped you grip the grenade slightly better.
Makes sense.
They realized the striations didn't matter that much, and it was more effort to make them with those than it was to just make 2 metal spheres and then weld them together.
Okay.
Or just make 1 metal sphere. Anyway. And actually, a lot of modern grenades are doing... The body is made out of a really thin metal, and then they just put, like, a coil of metal on the inside of it that acts as a fragmentation liner.
All right.
Interestingly, British and Americans in World War II primarily just used fragmentation grenades as kind of the do-everything grenade.
Yeah.
But the Germans had... So you get the potato masher, the stick grenade, right?
The potato masher?
It's called the potato masher because it looks like a thing to mash potatoes. It's a metal cylinder with a wooden dowel attached to the end of it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, those things. Interestingly, those grenades are what are known as offensive grenades. Technically, fragmentation grenades are what are considered defensive grenades, and those were considered offensive grenades because those don't actually have a fragmentation liner. They're just basically a bunch of high explosives put into a metal cylinder. Because primarily what you're supposed to be using those for is overpressure. So you're throwing them into a trench, and the overpressure either kills the person that the grenade lands next to, or concusses them enough that you can jump down in the trench and beat the shit out of them with something.
Why would you make multiple kinds of grenades? Why wouldn't you just have one that does everything?
I mean, because you might not necessarily want fragmentation. That's why flashbangs exist, because you're trying to disorient somebody. You're not trying to kill them.
Well, yeah, but why would you have 2 different kinds of fragmentation grenades, I'm wondering?
Well, because they're overpressure grenades. The primary reason for making what are considered offensive grenades is because the distance at which you can be near one when it detonates is much shorter than the distance on a fragmentation grenade. So the logic when offensive grenades were originally created was you can have a bunch of dudes chucking those into a trench and then jumping in the trench almost immediately afterwards. And hopefully they don't land right next to one of the offensive grenades and it just blows them up.
No, wouldn't you want to wait for it to explode?
Yeah, obviously you want to wait for them to explode, but the theory behind the offensive grenades was it gave you a little bit more of kind of like a safety buffer. battle is confusing, man. When you're trying to raid a trench and you don't have radios or comms equipment, and the only thing you have to communicate to the rest of your platoon is one dude going on a whistle, it gets a little confusing, and you might chuck a grenade into a trench that already has people in it.
Okay.
Anyway, they did make the German grenades did have what was called a fragmentation sleeve that could be slipped around the outside of the grenade that would add a fragmentation effect to it.
Okay.
For obvious reasons, offensive grenades aren't super popular anymore.
I haven't seen them lately.
Everyone just kind of uses fragmentation grenades, and even offensive grenades still create fragmentation, whether it's the very thin metal body of the grenade or whether it starts launching rocks because it landed on top of a bunch of them. So yeah, offensive grenades aren't super popular anymore, though I think the Marines may have just adopted a new grenade. It's the Mark 21. And it's interesting because it's a green plastic-bodied grenade that is what you would classify as an offensive grenade. It doesn't produce very much fragmentation. But interestingly, you can stick them together. So you can make a giant stick of offensive grenades.
Okay.
I don't know why you would do that, but you could do that. So I remember seeing a bunch of memes of Marines just making like a 30 stick long thing of fragmentation grenades. There's actually a lot of countries that are using plastic grenades now. The Czech military, I believe, has one that's the URG-86 that is an entirely plastic-bodied grenade. But it has a really interesting feature on it. It has a little lever on it that in one position, it's just 5-second delay. So you pull the pin, release the safety, and then the grenade goes off in 5 seconds. The other position is 5-second delay or impact detonation. So the moment the grenade hits something, it detonates. And then that's a way that you keep people from picking it up and throwing it back, potentially.
Okay.
Anyway, the URG-86 is really cool. I have a dummy one of them. I think hand grenades are fascinating. Can you tell?
Yeah, you seem to have a lot of information on them.
I think hand grenades are really cool. I think they're really interesting. To get completely off fucking topic, there is a flashbang grenade that is used in all kinds of media. Super popular in the early 2000s. You still see it periodically. There's a cylinder in the center, and then there's octagons at the top and bottom of it. And it has a differently shaped fuse, and then it has 2 pins for it, one of which is triangular, and the other of which is circular. What is that model of flashbang?
Did you see that newcomer who came into town? He helped out the doctor and came outside and talked to a grenade for an hour.
It's the M84 stun grenade. So yeah, the M84 stun grenade, I saw that a lot in a bunch of different media, and I actually had an inert one of those when I was in Iraq. They wouldn't let me bring it back home with me, which was incredibly disappointing. I don't think the military really uses the M84 anymore, because this specific one is what is called a one-and-done stun grenade. It just goes bang really loud, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Now they have ones that are what they refer to as like 3 bangers or 9 bangers, where they go off 9 times.
Wow.
It's just bam, 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 bam. It just keeps exploding for like several seconds.
Yikes, all right.
But yeah, I remember seeing that grenade in a bunch of different media, and now they're like impossible to find anywhere. I have another flashbang grenade that's a inert one. Yeah, there's another one that's the Mark 155 Mod 0 diversionary grenade that's basically just a little practice grenade. And again, those things are like almost impossible to find. Or they're almost impossible to find inert ones. Those ones are interesting because it's literally just an aluminum tube that you screw a diversionary device into that looks like a grenade. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention the Mills bomb, this one, that little hole in the center of it is, I'm pretty sure you screw a rod into that, and then you stick the rod down the barrel of your rifle, and then you fire a blank, and then it launches the grenade with a stick attached to it.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't do that for very long because they realized that it was kind of destroying the barrels of their rifles.
Sounds like it would.
Yeah, so they didn't do that for very long. They eventually created a cup that goes on the end of the rifle that you drop the grenade into it and then fire a blank, which is much better. I also have an inert white phosphorus grenade.
How many grenades, inert, of course, do you have in your possession?
Smoke grenade, M69 practice grenade, Mark 155, white phosphorus, British grenade.
More grenades than you have fingers on your hand.
And then the URG-86. So 7. I have 7 currently.
Okay.
We don't really use the white phosphorus grenade that much anymore.
Nah.
And it's big. Like, when you compare the white phosphorus smoke grenade to other grenades, it is huge.
Really?
And
Twice
it's
the
heavy.
size?
I wouldn't say twice the size. It's maybe like 25 to 30% bigger.
Okay.
Slightly bigger than a smoke grenade. The lethal burst radius of a white phosphorus grenade is like 25 meters. The average soldier can throw it 15 meters.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, that's
That's
not good.
Yeah.
That's stupid. Why would you do that? But you look at the white phosphorus grenade. So when you look at the white phosphorus grenade, it doesn't look like other grenades because it's got like a weird, I guess like beehive taper to the bottom of it.
The ice cream cone.
Yeah, it looks kind of like an ice cream cone at the bottom of it, right?
Yeah.
The reason it's shaped like that is literally so that it fits into one of the cups to be fired out of a rifle grenade launcher.
Oh.
Because the average soldier cannot throw it far enough, so they had to make it so that you could launch it from a rifle grenade launcher, so you didn't blow yourself the fuck up with it.
I see.
WP grenades are kind of interesting.
Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of white phosphorus being used, which is probably for the best.
The smoke grenade launchers on tanks use white phosphorus.
But they're smoke grenades, not white phosphorus grenades.
White phosphorus is smoke.
Oh.
The reason tanks tanks have what are called grenade dischargers on them. And basically you can push a button inside the tank and it goes doop. The reason they use white phosphorus on the tanks is because a standard smoke grenade makes a pop noise and then it burns and it takes a while for the smoke to build up. Tanks use white phosphorus because it is instantaneous. You push the button, the smoke grenades pop out, and within 1 second they have popped and spread smoke everywhere.
Okay.
So the reason for that is because if you're in a tank and you're trying to make yourself not able to be seen very quickly, white phosphorus is kind of the only way to do it.
You're gonna need a lot of smoke fast.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why tanks use WP grenades.
I see.
Which means that if you have infantry supporting the tank and the tank suddenly decides that it doesn't want to be seen, your infantry is going to be very fucking mad at you.
If they survive, yikes.
Yeah. I don't even think the US issues the M34 white phosphorus grenade anymore. I'm sure you can still get them. I'm sure we have some in inventory. The interesting thing about the inner M34 that I have is there's a huge hole punched in the side of it. Because the way they render that grenade inert is by punching a hole in the side of the grenade and basically draining all the white phosphorus out and then rinsing the grenade out several times.
Yeah.
Usually they just destroy the grenades, so it's like the inert white phosphorus grenades are really hard to find.
Oh, so what you have is somewhat rare.
Yeah, because usually they just destroy them.
It's your retirement grenade.
Kind of, yeah. That one and the 2 British L111 grenades that I have are kind of like the retirement grenades because, like, you can't find those.
Yeah.
Ever. Anyway, now that I talked about fragmentation grenades for an extended period of time, I should get an inert stick grenade at some point.
What are the offensive German grenades?
Yeah, one of the stick grenades.
The grenades aren't Pokemon. You don't have to catch them all.
I like having them. It's nice. It's neat to have them.
Alright. So, the heavy machine gun here.
Well, it already has a powerful receiver. That's weird. Okay, that's kind of weird, because this is like the MG34 barrel,
Yeah.
and then this is the MG42 barrel.
Yeah.
I understand what they were doing. Like, I get it. It makes sense, but I'm putting the MG42 barrel on there.
Got the compensator, no muzzle. The thing is so big you have to rotate it every time you want to see the muzzle.
Yeah, that's like the closest to what's actually on the end of the MG42. So we'll
Like a nozzle.
we'll keep that on there. What's actually on there is like a cone.
Yeah.
Armor piercing. Oh boy. All right. Well, let's look at the Lewis gun.
Could change the receiver a little bit.
Yeah, none of these are actually the Lewis gun receiver. This is weird looking. It's okay. So they made it look kind of like a Lewis gun. Like that muzzle should not be there. The way this is should not be there because this is basically just a hollow shell that goes around the barrel.
That you talking about that ring?
I'm talking about this clearly looks like the barrel of a gun.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be there. The barrel would be actually recessed further down inside this tube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, it's got like a hole for a water jacket, which again, the Lewis gun does not have. The
Not
Lewis
water
gun-
cooled?
No, the Lewis gun is air cooled. And the pan on the top does not actually look like that. When you tip the Lewis gun over like this, you can actually see the rounds inside it.
Oh.
Yeah, this is weird. This is like a couple of other guns bashed together to make a thing that looks like a Lewis gun. so many of the other guns in this mod are very, very accurate, but then this Lewis gun is like way off, and it's not bad.
Well, they can't all be winners. Again, we're in a post-apocalypse. People are doing their best.
They did a good job like approximating a Lewis gun, but the Lewis gun didn't have an adjustable cheek rest on there. The trigger is way too small for a Lewis gun. I'm not sure what the point of putting this thing on the front is, because normally that would be like where you would attach a bipod, but it sticks out of the front on a sniper rifle.
Maybe it wasn't their attempt at making a Lewis gun. Maybe some guy named Louis had a gun, so it's Louis's gun. There's an apostrophe there.
That would make more sense than this being an actual Lewis gun.
There you go.
And like from the top, that looks fine.
Neat.
It's got a good noise to it though. I like the noise. Also, when you fire the Lewis gun, this entire drum rotates.
Oh.
This is one of the few instances of a drum magazine actually working, and that's because it's not really a drum magazine, it's what's called a pan magazine, which is different. There's not really any springs or anything in the Lewis gun. It works based on gravity and a ratcheting mechanism that just rotates it every single time. Yep, that looks pretty accurate. That sounds pretty accurate.
Nice.
Decently accurate. The pulling back of the bolt is only necessary if you have fired it until it is completely run out of ammo.
Seems like you could have some fun with this.
MG42 is a machine gun that is so good that everyone just kept copying it. And the German military literally still uses it.
Didn't you say the MG42 was a knockoff of the 34?
No, it's like I guess you could consider it
Iterative design?
Yeah, they're similar. The MG34 is more machined metal than like stamped sheet metal. It's more prone to having problems because of not being cleaned enough or what have you. The MG42 was made to be made cheaper and faster, and they must have got it right because the German military still uses the MG42. It's just now it's the MG3 and it's in 308 instead of 8mm Mauser.
Still using it so many years later.
Yep. I really like the gigantic T handle for the charging handle. I just think that's cool. I love that. So this little tab right there on the receiver just ahead of the feed tray cover is you push that forward and then the barrel pops out. And then you can grab the barrel and just slide the barrel out through the right side of the gun, slide a new barrel into it, and then basically slap that tab closed, and the gun is ready to fire again.
Nice. And you can give that first barrel time to cool.
Yep. Yeah, MG42 is just a very, very well-designed, very good machine gun. Pretty much everybody has copied it. The M60 is kind of weird because, like, the best way to think of the M60 machine gun is if an MG42 and an FG42 had a baby, that would be the M60.
I see.
It's kind of like that. There was a weird experimental version of the M60 that I think is the T44 that was an experimental machine gun that the US was testing in 1944.
Okay.
And the T44 is, the best way I can describe this is somebody slapped an MG42 feed cover sideways onto an FG42 and said, "Yep, we made a new machine gun!" And it's kind of cursed. Yeah, the T44 is kind of a fucking horribly, horribly cursed gun design. It's interesting. Anyway, the M60 is pretty much copied from the MG42 and like a couple other things. The M240 machine gun, which is the FN Mag 58 machine gun, that one basically wholesale copies this entire trigger mechanism from the MG42. They're like the same trigger mechanism. Yeah, it's a very good machine gun.
And now to improve your Enforcer jacket that you picked up, you can change its color.
Great. Why are you giving me all this cool armor and I can't do anything with it?
None of the armor pieces go over any of the clothing we find.
I mean, I'm gonna keep wearing it.
Yeah, go
because
for it.
I think it's neat.
Yeah, you choose the thing you want to wear, and if it's not giving you enough damage resistance, whatever, just bump the difficulty down. Style is the most important thing.
Or do you have anything else? You got any other cool stuff? You got a pith helmet. That might be kind of fun to wear.
A pith helmet.
Yeah, it's not really a helmet. It's like, I guess...
Look like a safari hat.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically what it is, right? It's pretty much a safari hat, but you can... it's really more of like a bump helmet. It's not going to protect you from much of anything. It keeps the sun off you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.